Hello and welcome back to Dev Game Club, a weekly podcast in which two veteran game developers look at games from the past and talk about their impact and relevance today. I'm Tim Blanco Jr., and I'm joined, as always, by a man who really, really wants to tell me the story of defeating the Iron Golem.
Brett Duville. Indeed I do. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. That's what prompted me. Well, it was actually a couple of things. So up there on top of Sen's Fortress, which is difficult to get to, and I didn't think there was a bonfire up there. So I'm like, man, it's a long way to get up here, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
And a couple things, there were a lot of good things actually that came out of all of that. One is I did find the bonfire. And it was because of a marking on the ground. I was under fire because up there are, I think they might be giants. They might be smaller golems. I'm not really sure. I think they're creatures though, like, men, or giants.
Yeah.
Because they have these boulders that they're throwing. It's kind of amazing. The whole fortress is kind of amazing. There's some audio stuff too that I finally connected when I was playing earlier today, where they have these huge stacks of boulders, and then there's one on the very tippy top. And if he sees you, they start throwing the boulders at you, and they explode, and there's fire, and you're trying to avoid that. Well, I ultimately finally found that there was a bonfire up there because of a mark on the ground. And it's like a place where you have to walk off the edge of the world. Like, it looks like you're going to fall to your death, and there's a bonfire down below. And it's like, oh man, that's brutal.
God, without messages, I'm just worried I'm missing some critical things.
It's just, there's some stuff like that where it's like, it just feels unfair to not know. There was another thing up in the place beyond that I also wouldn't have found if not for a marking. Like, I was totally lost. I'm like, there was a place where people were writing jokes to jump off this ledge, and I did that and was dying, and kept coming back and getting my souls. Anyway, so the thing that I had to do was to go and also kill the higher giant. But in trying to find my way to do these things, I learned, I don't know if you realize this, Tim, that you can run in this game.
Run.
You can run.
What do you mean run? So I'm not running right now?
So you are not. If you're pushing full stick forward for full stick deflection, as we would say, you're just, you're moving.
You're
quickly.
jogging.
Yes. If you press and hold B or circle for me, B for you, you will actually, I guess it's more of a dash. I found this looking at the manual today. It is in such small print, Tim, I cannot even tell you. I can't read the buttons. I had to work it out. It said dash. And I can read the circle, but L1, I'm like, is that L3? I can't read the L1 in this, but that's how small the text is in the manual.
And you had your glasses on.
And I had my glasses on, and I was like, I gotta get a magnifying glass on top of my glasses to read this. Anyway, I worked out and experimented because up there's also this space where there's a gap. And down in New Londo, I had also gone off a ledge and been like, wow, that's a really tough roll to make.
There's been a couple gaps where I've wondered, why can I not get across? Yeah, interesting. Okay.
It's because there's a dash, Tim. Not only is there a dash, there's a jump.
What?
If you are dashing and you let go and quickly tap B or circle again, you will jump and roll. So you can do a jump attack. As you could jump, and I think you could do B and then your primary attack at that point as well.
What?
So been missing a couple things, I guess. In terms of getting around.
You're 80 hours in and you're just finding,
Yeah.
What else
This was today.
In the manual, that, I thought there was nothing in the manual.
There's so much that's just text. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really see it. So it's small.
Yeah. I haven't even looked because I thought you found everything that was useful. But wow.
Well, now I found you can dash. It does use stamina, right? So it's burning the stamina as you're running.
Yeah.
So it's not, you can't do it indefinitely. So I guess it's technically not running, because I guess running would be kind of like an always on scenario. That's probably why they would call it a dash, because it uses a resource. But yeah, because I was trying to find a way to get to this giant that was throwing rocks at me. I didn't know about the one up top yet. I hadn't worked that out. So it's like, well, there's got to be a way to get over there. And of course I ran first. I mean, I just did normal, and tried to roll, and I rolled right off the edge. I'm like, well, that's not right. There's got to be a way to get across that. There's this long walkway. I can see a room over there. There's got to be something. And I'm like, you got to be able to get to this giant. Turns out you can't get to the giant. And I was just like, or at least I have not found a way to get to this giant. And the giant was one of those things where it's like a mini boss that dissolves instead of its body falling to the ground. So it's gone for good. So now I go up there and I can actually watch the other giant doing his normal work, which is to pick up rocks from this pile and drop them down into a hole so that they can roll around inside in the bizarre Make It Better mousetrap contraption that is the inside of that fortress.
Oh,
because there's these rocks that drop from this hole, and then you can turn and make them go in different directions, like depending on where you want to go. It's wild, and it turns out they have a creature that does this. I'm like, what is the mechanics of these rocks? Like when I was in there on the inside. Yeah, and it turns out there's a guy up there. And in fact, you can hear the rocks if you walk up to the fortress along the walkway from where the blacksmith is. That is a bit of audio design I realized today. Is like, oh my God.
From the gate, you mean?
Yeah, from the gate. Well, if you're walking up to that gate, you can hear the rocks from up above being dropped and being slammed around in the little indoor pinball machine that is Sen's Fortress. I also found a shortcut up to the top of Sen's Fortress. That was really nice. In fact, I had to jump over that gap to find that not the shortcut, but a key that you needed for that shortcut. So it was all pretty amazing today. There's a lot of stuff that happened in my fairly short time this week, relatively speaking. I only played 11 hours this week. I went and killed the hydra, which is the thing past the crystal.
Oh yeah. Wow.
That was cool. I one-shot him, actually. You have to cut off all the heads. And one of them is pretty tough. Because of the way it attacks. So that was cool. I killed a few of the black knights. I finally killed, that Iron Golem. That was super cool. And what happens as a result of that, I can't spoil, because it was just so unexpected and cool. And also made me think this game's just keeps going. There's just
you're not done yet. You said you're not done, and you have no sense of an ending either.
Well, what I will say now is that I've been to all of the places I have heard of. Just from remembering discussion of this game from years ago, and also some of the NPCs one of the NPCs talked about this place. So, in fact, it's my next goal is basically this place that I've gotten to, but I don't want to spoil how that all happens. It was super cool. It also prompted me to switch back to the leathers and go back to the speedy to beat that Iron Golem. I had to dive like crazy, and in fact, it was just such a feeling of triumph today. It was the first time I had tried with the leather, maybe the second time I had tried with the leather. Because I had switched away from the leather because he crushed me so bad in it. I was like, oh man. But I've gone and I've probably leveled 10 levels since the first time I fought him. And I went up there, and I was up there. I found places you could stand where you were relatively safe. So I could actually even do a heal there, because I have heal in addition to my Estus flasks. And then I was just like being patient and like, there was a point where I had whittled them down to like 15%, and I was like shaking. So it was like, oh my God, this could go so wrong. And I'd used a lot of my Estus flasks, and I was like, and I can't leave, and I'm now carrying 15,000, 17,000 souls, something like that. So I'm like, I also don't want to die and have to keep doing him. It's like not easy to get to where I am at this point. So I just was like telling myself to calm down, relax. I was like, You got to be cool like the gunfighters. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't get jittery because that's how you fail. And you got to keep doing what you did to get to this point, and that worked out. So I ended up killing him.
Wow.
It was an amazing, fiero moment, as they say. I think that's Huizinga, right? He analyzes the 4 kind of feelings of play or whatever. And that was just the triumph of like, oh man, this guy has beat me down for long enough. It was pretty awesome. And then something even wilder happened. So I'm not gonna tell you that, but
oh man, this game.
Yep.
Jeez.
So yeah, then I had like 57,000 souls, and I was terrified because it's that's almost 2 levels for me at this point. I did end up finding a bonfire beyond. It was the whole thing was super interesting. If you do get to this point, I really look forward to talking to you about it because the whole thing was ups and downs the whole time. So it was because of course I'm walking around with that terror. I actually put on that ring, that rare ring of whatever.
Oh, so you mean where you don't lose anything?
Right.
Oh, how funny. I was going to ask if that was that's the perfect moment to use it then.
Exactly. Yeah. But I was like, but at the same time I was like, well, I hope I don't have to do this. Like, I hope I find the next thing. And it was one of those things where I actually walked past the bonfire and I'm like, no, it can't be this far. And then I saw an enemy and I was like, oh man, I don't want to have to fight that. So I turned back, and coming back, I saw where the bonfire ended up being. I had missed it. I'd walked right by it. So it was just like I said, there's total ups and downs tonally, but also for my own journey was just, something else.
I mean, it is the case. I feel like for me, it's always the case with every boss, even some of the mini bosses, like when they're low. The mini bosses are, not as exciting, of course, because they're not maybe typically as difficult. But when you just get low, when the boss's health is low, like it's like you can't not have that anxiety.
You want to rush?
Yeah, you're like, I'm almost there. In fact, that what was the one? There was one. It must have been a mini boss. Yeah, but it's happened to me so many times. I feel like
or was it Miriam for you?
Miriam. No. Miriam? Is that what you said?
Mad Miriam or whatever?
Oh, Mildred. Yeah. Oh no.
Mildred.
That actually was it. I had her down to like a sliver, and I was like, I'm just gonna rush it. And she just two-shotted me and I was down. So I didn't actually kill her. She killed me. So
wow.
Yeah, so I was invaded. Brett's referring to the scripted because I'm playing offline because Dark Souls Remastered on PC is not online. So I was never expecting to be invaded, and then I'm in the bottom of Blighttown there, where all the poison is, and I'm kind of doing some runs to try to get to Quelaag or whatever her name is, Quelaag, and I leave the bonfire, and then I get the message like you've been invaded by Maneater Mildred, and I'm like, what are you talking about, game? This is literally the laws of physics tell me this is impossible. And so internet physics. And so I was like, what? Cause I obviously didn't know that they had scripted them in. And this is basically a character enemy with no gear really, right? No armor on. But she has a meat cleaver sword and just a dumb wooden shield, and she's doing major damage. But I did make short work of her. But then, like I said, I got her down to the sliver, and then I got cocky, and she got one stun hit on me, and it was over. Because at that moment, because I'm using the ninja armor down there, which I can talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
It is very resistant to poison, and so I wear it when I'm down there. So obviously it's not very protective, but I basically don't have to worry about poison very much when I have it. But I also can't get hit, so I got to be real careful. So I was wearing the ninja garb at that point, and she's like, "Yeah, you're going down." So,
wow.
But I did one shot not one shot, but one attempt the gaping dragon, which I was proud of. Yeah.
Wow. Well done. Yeah, I did not. That one worked me a few times. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Don't you just love the design of that thing?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Totally unexpected, like something I've never seen in any other game. Like it's just really crazy. I think a lot of their creature designs are very impressive. A lot of them are, typical fantasy stuff, but they always have some sort of spin on things, especially the bosses. And I know that's not news to anybody because they're kind of known for that. But and that was very fun. And that arena, like the cool thing about that arena, and I know this is old hat for you, but like going through the depths, and there's a couple times when you come out and you can see down into that arena and you see that big open, and it really reminded me of Shadow of the Colossus because you get to see some of those arenas early on before you meet the bosses in that game too, where you're like, wow, that's a really cool space. And then you get there eventually and you're like, oh no, I'm fighting in this space, and and then it comes out of the water, that over that waterfall once you're down there, and it's just the build up because it's like very quiet when you're running down the stairs. There's nobody there, and then you get down there and you're like, oh no, here's a mist door.
Oh, it's mist door.
Shoot. Okay, I better go. And I just was patient and did my backstabbing and I didn't actually even use arrows on that thing. So I just used my dagger, and, I think I just lucked out and kind of saw the pattern early. So I basically, it was patience. I wasn't doing a lot of damage. I just did it. I
got him on my third or fourth try, I think. So, that one wasn't one of the harder ones for me.
No.
And I think that's been basically the trend line too, is that like the first few rocked me a bunch of times, and now I'm just kind of learning. This is sort of the way the game clicks, like people have said, right? Is that at a certain point it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, take the time, let my stamina come back. Don't the one thing that tends to happen to me is I am a person who will push buttons a bunch of times, because I'm, as a programmer, thinking, well, after the first one, those will get canceled out because it'll take too long, but no, they queue them up, like, and not a lot of games do it that way. So I'm always like, I've pressed whatever R1 4 times. So it's like, that's what it gets me into trouble, is that it's not that I'm impatient. It says I'm a twitchy button player. Like I hit the buttons multiple times. Yeah. Even thinking it'll go in once or twice, right? And it'll go 4 times, and I'll be like, oh no. So that's what.
Yeah, you got to be really intentional. Yeah, I mean it's a game. Yeah, I mean it's, again, not news to people who played it, but I'm just I guess I'm surprised, and I'm obviously not even anywhere near where you are, but I'm deep enough now where I don't think it's fully clicked, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm not afraid of the game as much. But it's such the degree to which they have gone to make it a game about patience and intent is well beyond what I thought it was going to be. Like I intellectually always kind of heard and knew, and people would talk about it that way. And I was like, yeah, I get it. It's of course it's a difficult game, and they're really making you work for things and really learn things. But it's like, no, it's a game about it is about intention and patience. And that, it's just not something you do these days. And
or finding your moment, it's like getting yourself into position, the learning, learning the patterns, but there's even a point at which it's like you're learning the pattern in the first time you fight the thing. That's kind of where I've gotten to. I mean, the area I'm in now, I've fought 2 new enemy types that are mini bosses, and 2 instances of one that I've seen before. So I didn't have to learn anything with that one, but the other 2 I've been learning, and they were actually subtly different. One set of them. there were two of this creature, but they actually fought slightly differently, even though they were very similar looking. These tall black, I don't know, they look like statues, living statues or something, and they were tricky, but there was definitely there were times when they're stopping and they're trying to gauge me, and I'm backing away, and that's my Estus flask time, and then I'm going back in, and it's just really, really compelling. I wanted to pick up on something you were talking about there, about the poison stuff and avoiding poison, and we had talked in pre-show about maybe touching on damage types a little bit this time, because we really haven't talked about it too much. In addition to sort of your main weapon type, your slasher or thruster, right? I don't know if that'd be piercing or whatever, or crushing or whatever mine is. I have effectively a club, I think. Mine's a mace, but I think that's treated like a club, because I realized I had not found, this is one of the things I was going to comment on last week, I might not have the right weapon because I haven't found any others like it.
Right.
Whereas I find a lot of swords and daggers and spears even, but I haven't found another mace.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean clubs, I found...
That's why I think it might be a club. And I might have picked up the guy's shillelagh. I can't remember if he dropped that, so I should probably go back and look. There's axes too, basically, and halberds and things like that. But I have not found another thing that's a club, and so I've been is this it? If I had my divine +5 mace that I'm going to have the whole game since level 20. Because there was a point at which I found 20, 30, I don't know, where I found a place where I could farm the things I needed, and I just spent a couple hours no, I'm getting this weapon as far as I can get it, and and I've been using it ever since, and it's fine. Its damage levels as eye level, so it's kind of been okay, but it's also just weird to oh yeah, I've had this for 50 levels or whatever. It's just... So
did you level it? So kind of related to the damage type thing, did you turn it into a divine weapon because you are a divine?
I did.
Person?
I did it for that reason. And that's why I did it. And
I think you talked about this last time. That gives you extra damage because you're a divine person. Is that why you did it?
I did it thinking that both faith and strength would improve it, and that is true. My faith improves the damage that it does, as well as my strength. So I can put points into either of those, and strength will probably have other benefits. Faith helps my magic, probably, I'm guessing. I feel like I read that when I looked at that stat. So my heals are better when my faith goes up, and probably if I were getting another spell that I'm really into.
So maybe I don't want to do that with maybe I was thinking of it more of a damage type, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
I think it does do additional damage to undead.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not fighting. I haven't fought a lot of undead since I've been down to, it didn't do anything with the ghosts, for example. I couldn't use it.
Yeah.
I could if I was cursed, right? But or transiently cursed or whatever.
Do you use those items? You mean?
I switched to the dagger, the ghost dagger or whatever it was called, the jagged ghost dagger. I switched to that.
I don't have that.
Yeah, no. Somebody dropped that. Somebody attacked me.
I just found these items, these consumables that allow you to fight.
Yeah, I did that for a while, but then I found this dagger. I think it's called a jagged ghost dagger that will do damage. Now it doesn't do as much damage as my mace does because it probably takes a different stat.
Yeah, it's dexterity.
Dexterity.
Yeah.
And my dexterity is quite low, but I'm very strong, so it's probably some combination of them. And so it would take more hits to kill it than when I was transiently cursed, but it would do the job. So
so I'm just curious because I came up. So I've been carrying around this lightning powder for my weapon forever, and I kind of just been looking for an excuse to use it. And then I was kind of thinking, well, I'm fighting Quelaag right now, and so there's got to be, she's fire, so there's got to be some damage type. that
think it does say something about that being good against dragons.
The lightning.
Yeah, I think it says if you look at the flavor text.
Oh, it actually might. Okay, maybe I looked at that a long time ago and forgot. Yeah, so maybe that's not it. But and I was just thinking, her title.
Well, it might hurt. It might hurt too. Because she's fire. I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah.
Well, her title. So then I was kind of going down the road of the title. She's like Quelaag the Cursed or something like that. And I was thinking, okay, well, is that a clue to maybe if I use a divine weapon against her or something like that, it does more damage because he's cursed, or I don't, I just basically am like, now I'm at a phase where I have enough of a handle of the game where I'm like, okay, let me go one level deeper on the damage types and see, okay, what if I can make some logical sense of that and use it to my advantage. So obviously the divine, I would assume, would work on undead well, but again, I'm also not fighting too many undead right now. Though I do need I do need to go to the catacombs next.
Maybe also demons, for that matter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So because she seems very demonic as well.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe that. So, but then I've already transferred my knife. So it's a slashing dagger. So it's not a thrust attack. So I think it's a bleed. I now have it as a bleeding weapon.
Nice.
It's called a raw dagger. But I don't want to. Now I've invested in that. I don't know if I want to lose it to turn it to divine.
Well, you should level up another one.
I don't have another one. This is my starting weapon.
Oh, I mean, well, you should find another dagger maybe.
Yeah, I have. I do. I bought a dagger, but that's a different style. It's a thrusting dagger.
Different.
Like I haven't seen, similar to you, I have not found another knife dagger that is a slashing one like this bandit's blade that you start with. I haven't found anything like it. I found thrust.
I wonder why you didn't get one in New Londo. Maybe it's a random drop or something.
Well, I didn't go very far in New Londo. I fought I fought a couple ghosts and then I left. I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
Okay. But I went quite a ways into there. Now I feel like I have to go back because now I've worked out this jumping thing, and I'm like, well, maybe I need to jump somewhere to get to the boss. Like I don't know. I don't specifically remember, but I'm like, that might be why I couldn't find it. I mean, it's sort of like a Metroidvania in that way of like, I have this new tool, where have I missed that I can, and of course in those sorts of games, it's very explicit. It's very obvious when that's part of it is like, knowing you're going to get these abilities. Here it's like, oh, I had this ability the whole time. It's actually kind of more like a Mario game in that way, but I didn't learn it till later. Because all the Mario's moveset he has all the time. Like you start the game, you've got everything. And that's also true of this. I mean, you're getting better at the things that you do, but you get faster or you roll better or whatever. Yeah. But like you can do all the things. Yeah. So, maybe you can't do all the things if you don't have enough stamina, like to do combo, several things in a row. So you can't kind of like do with you. I don't know. It might be slash, then big slash or whatever, because you've stunned somebody or something like that. Maybe that sort of thing isn't available to you early on because of resource, stamina resource. But I mean, that's true. The combos are unlocked to you as you expand. That's an interesting notion. Well, and I think they also obviously use level design and encounter design to kind of encourage you to use some of the things that you may not be normally using. Like we were talking about that one soul in Blighttown that neither of us could get to, but now obviously we both know how to get to it. I suspect, because I did the same thing you did. I rolled off the edge of something and, I don't know, probably fell a long way. I feel like I fell. Yeah,
you can fall to a platform. I did it.
I was going to say, I didn't think I fell to my death, but I felt like I fell to a place where I felt very unsafe at the time. And I don't even remember if I died or not. You
take a big hit. I did it so many times just trying to figure out how to get over there. But because I'm just terrified because I found the ninja suit in Blighttown, and I'm just terrified that there's also a dagger. I'm worried that that the soul is a dagger there, but I think they glow differently though, right? If it's an item, or no, maybe not.
I think yellow is for items, maybe, or
I don't know. I thought maybe it was bigger.
No, It's white. Yeah. No,
I don't think it's
I have no idea.
consistent. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. And so it's like speaking of the poison in general, because I get such a buff from my regular. I'm not sure if I'm going to commit to the ninja stuff or not, because I'm not even sure where you get twinkling titanite from. I had some.
I've only found 2.
Yeah, that's all I had too. And then I think I got them in the depths.
That's part of what's making me think it's that I have a long way to go.
Oh, geez.
Is that I haven't found, like, so one of the things that I've found happens is things are hard to find, and then you push and push and you find a place where you can actually farm it. You find something that drops it, and you're like, oh, okay, that happened with the green titanite for me.
Yeah,
I found
slugs.
The slug things that drop from the ceiling in that one spot, and I did that one hallway. I can't even tell you how many times.
I'm using I'm getting the slugs down at the bottom of Blighttown in the big poison. Yeah, those guys, they drop large titanite and green.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I don't remember. So yeah, they were in the depths. There was this hallway where
I remember those two.
Ceiling, and then one of those faster undeads, and then beyond that there was a bonfire. And so I was like, come out of bonfire, kill the dude, run through, get the other dude, kill the 5 things. I must have done that 100 times, easily, just to get a bunch of green titanite so I could level my. That's how I got my mace to +5 divine. Interesting. Yeah. I just totally grounded out. I was just like, well, I'm just gonna do this. Like, I mean, I might get to a point where I need something else, and then I'll be screwed. I think the twinkling titanite that I found was from I may remember walking down into Darkroot Basin. There's like a lizard you can see.
Yeah,
it glows.
Oh yeah, I shot that thing. Yeah.
Oh, you got it. So you might have gotten twinkling titanite from that.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember. I thought I had gotten it in the depths someplace, but you might be right.
No, I think it was that, because I actually got that. If you come from the opposite direction from the Valley of the Drakes, if you come from the Valley of the Drakes up to that thing, it's in a position where you can get up to it and it doesn't hear you. I
used a bow. Yeah, I used a bow.
Yeah, and I whacked it from behind. I might have even had my silence ring by then, though I don't think so. I think I just basically saw it and could get to it without it running fast enough, and I could kill it before it could get to its little hole in the ground that it would run to. So that's where I think that came from. I don't know if we're going to run into more of those, or if there's going to be something else that drops it. Like,
because that's impossible. It'd be impossible for, because I've never seen another one of those.
Exactly, that thing doesn't come back, and so it's like, it's somewhere there's got to be more of this stuff, because you need so much of it and nobody sells it.
It's crazy.
I have a lot of places I can push further on. Like I said, there's New Londo where there's a boss that I can see that there's a door. Like I can see its reflection in the water, actually. So I'm like, I know there's a door here. That it looks like a rendering bug, to be honest, because it's like, I don't think it could reflect this far, but
maybe I should go there, because it is accessed from Firelink. I'm wondering, maybe because I'm trying to gauge, because obviously when I found the Valley of the Drakes, I'm like, I don't think I should go in there. And so,
I still have not gone back and conquered that. I went down, I found a dragon there that had at this point I think I was silent. No, I still wasn't. I hadn't found that ring. I can't remember where I found that ring. Anyway, I went and I just rolled through it and picked up the stuff that was in front of him. Yeah. And it was like it was a whole set, of armor. I don't remember what it was. It's not what I'm wearing. So it wasn't for me. But I picked up all that stuff and then rolled past him, and then was like, well, maybe I could take him. Of course, that didn't work out so well. So I haven't been back.
There's a lot of cool armor in the game that I'll never use. But it's like, if I were playing this character, that would be neat. Yeah.
Playing in the stone armor was a lot of fun for 20, 30 levels or whatever it was, that I did it. It was cool. It was like, I can go up to things and, if they hit me, I'm not going to take tons of damage, and I'm kind of just like a tank, I'm just walking around chunk.
Yeah,
then
that's
I got that silent ring, and it's like now I'm walking around and I look like I'm walking like I'm gonna go chunk. It's eerily silent, so it's super spooky. It's just like I'm walking around and I can walk up behind a thing and kill it because it doesn't ever hear me coming. It's a really weird. It was a really weird change from being so loud, like they'd hear me from so far away, and then I switched to this and it's like, oh no, I can just,
yeah,
you can't see me. I just walk up to it and hit it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's wild the changes that can happen from finding this thing and trying it out. So I found I'm doing more of that than I'm just trying things like, I wonder if I can jump off of that. When I saw this message and it was like it has 0 pluses or whatever, 0 faves or 0 whatever it is, I can't remember the thing, a new 0 rating, it says jump here. I'm like, really? All right, why not? It's not that far to the bonfire. I don't even think there's any enemies to the bonfire, so I'm like, okay, I'll do it a couple of times. I have this new thing where I know how to jump. So I did it. Yeah, it's a lie. So it was very funny, but
what did the one say where there was a bonfire? What did the message say? Just jump here or fall here?
It said something like or praise the. It might have been praise the sun. You see that one a lot. No, I think it said fall here or jump here or bonfire imminent is one or something like that. There's something like bonfire near or something like that. That is actually what took me to the wall one. That you found. Next to the Astorius crest.
Yeah.
So it was something like that. I think it was like, bonfire imminent. And I was like, bonfire imminent? Like I'm standing on a ledge and I've got to move because this guy's throwing rocks at me. And oh, there is a bonfire imminent. Look at that.
Yeah, that's wild.
So yeah, I've just been a little bit less, like, because once I get all the way in there, I'm like, well, if, I die, I'm probably not going to get here again. So I might as well just think of these, these souls are just gone. Like, that's kind of where I get to the point of like, well, I'm probably not going to get anything from these souls. Like they're going to get lost at some point because it was so hard getting here that I won't be able to get back without losing them. And I wouldn't be able to then recover them. So I might as well just consider them already lost and just, learn more about the world. There was definitely a time up in that space above Sen's Fortress where I was just going all over the place to see what else was up there. And I found some soul, some large souls of whatever and proud warriors and etc. and those sorts of things. But yeah, it's just made me experiment more. That's, how I worked out how to dash. So
Are you using like heavy leather armor, or what is your leather armor?
Yeah, it's hard leather. I think is what it's called.
Yeah. I have that set, but I haven't. Yeah. I'm still using primarily, other than the ninja one. I'm using for poison. I'm using my black thief stuff, which is still leveled up.
Right.
Well, and I think it's more protective. It has some poison damage, but yeah, the poison stuff down there, Blighttown is not what I thought it was going to be. By the way, I thought. In my head, Blighttown to me was like going to be very undead focused or something. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's just like orcs and scaffoldings and stuff, it's just completely crazy. So it was kind of a nice surprise to have some version of it in my head based on its infamy. And then get there and I'm like, what is this vertical, rickety old stuff? So that was kind of neat. But anyway, so I just basically, when I wear the ninja armor, I basically just allow myself to be poisoned, and the poison goes so slowly as it ticks down that and I have so many Estus flasks that I just clear the whole like swamp there while I'm poisoned, because I'm basically losing almost no health. And then by the time I kill everything, I take an Estus flask, and I don't need to use any moss, So it's really, and then by that time the poison has run out. So so it's like I'm just playing the numbers there, on that.
That's how it worked with me in the rats. Like, is like I would get poisoned, and I would just be like, oh, okay, like I might need to heal once,
Yeah.
but I can start moving on and doing the undead that are beyond it and just not worry about it. Yeah, I was very much the same way. Now I have like 80 moss or something like that, so I don't.
Oh, right.
Now it's
It
just
doesn't
magic.
even matter. Yeah. But oh man, those frogs in the depths, those are the guys that curse you.
Yes.
So I managed, once I saw the curse thing came up, I was like,
Yep.
oh no. So then
Yep.
I luckily never got cursed. I still haven't been cursed. I killed them
Oh,
all
nice.
quickly enough or something. And
Well, so you could go and get cursed, and then you would be cursed for the ghosts. I thought I was going to have to do that because I was out of transient curses.
oh, so you mean you could fight the ghosts if you're cursed?
Yes. If you use the transient curse, you can fight them.
Right.
With whatever weapon you have, right? So if I were cursed, I presume I would also be able to fight them.
But you'd be at half health.
Correct.
Oh, that'd be interesting. If that works, that's pretty
trade-off.
cool. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. I think that's probably how it works. That would be my expectation, because I was like, what if, like, I mean, you didn't even find this dagger. Like, I was like, oh, okay, well, I have this dagger, so I'm cool. Like, I can use that. It's 3 or 4 hits instead of 1 or 2. Some of the larger places where there's more of them, it's get really tricky, and I like have to kite a lot of them and stuff. But for the most part, it was like, well, I can just use this dagger. But then I found more transient curses. Like, oh, okay, well, this will be way easier because I can hit them with my actual weapon that I use. You were going to say?
Did you find that dagger fairly early in down there, or was it you don't remember how far in it was?
It was my second or third trip down there.
Yeah.
I was silenced at that point. Yeah, I died. I would find a place where it was like, oh, there's 4 or 5 ghosts here if you move too quickly, and you just have to, because you got the ticker running down on this transient curse. I mean, I don't know how long it goes, but it's gonna run out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta move, and so I would run into situations where it's like, oh no, I'm surrounded by them and I can't get away, and they would eat me. So one of the times I came back down there, this guy who looks like one of the ghosts in Astorius's forest. They're not ghosts, they're humans, but they look sort of ghostly. You can hit them just normally. They're one of the places I farm, so I'm very familiar with them. One of those just came running out of New Londo, ran up to me. I killed him, and I'm pretty sure he's who dropped this dagger. I think another ghost dropped one. I have 2, 2 or 3, so they must be.
Oh, they're just
ghosts must drop as well, and they're just low. Yeah, and they're just low, probably low probability. I don't know. 10%, 5%.
Yeah.
Because I have a few, but I've been through that area a bunch of times.
Yeah. Well, for another. And I think you said that the catacombs connect to Blighttown. Is that right? Or they catacombs connect someplace? Or is that not true?
The catacombs connect to. No, they connect to the Tomb of Giants. Is the next place.
Whoa.
I believe beyond that.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a boss there called Pinwheel. He was not difficult. I might have one-shotted Pinwheel. And then you go into an area that's truly terrifying because it's extremely dark. And I'm constantly like, can I step here? And I got to places where it's like, I don't want to roll because I know I'm on paths that are not very wide.
Man, this game is crazy.
Yeah, so I'll go back there with my stone armor now. I'll switch to that once I get to that spot because I'll be able to take more punishment. Because with those things, I could just like go toe to toe. I think probably at this point of just like, I'll just get near it. I'll hold up my shield. It'll swing. Then I'll bash it. I'll just take the hit because I'll have enough physical. And I have a ring that reduces physical damage as well. So. That's basically what I do now is like I think about the area and like, okay, what do I want? Like, I almost always keep my poise ring on that you found, the wolf ring, but the other slot I switch frequently depending on what I'm going against because I've got a whole bunch of them. I picked up one actually what the guy with the shillelagh didn't drop the shillelagh. He dropped a ring, which made I think my carry weight, whatever the thing that goes up when you do not dexterity, but the other one,
Oh,
Like there's
endurance.
endurance. Yes, I think there's that effectively raises your endurance, or maybe lowers your effective weight of what you're carrying, or
So you
something
have
like
more
that. It says,
stamina, essentially.
so you have more stamina, and you can roll a little better, even if you're in heavy armor. So yeah, it's been like, so I was using that for a little while because I was like, well, I like this stone armor. It's cool. I can take more of a beating. Then I got to the Iron Golem, and I was like, well, this armor isn't doing it. So
Yeah, so
I also can't level it. It doesn't level. It appears like it
the stone
doesn't
armor
show up in the list. The stone armor doesn't.
Oh, wow.
I go to the guy and he doesn't even offer. I can't, like, if I go reinforce armor, it doesn't even show up.
Did you find that other smith?
I did, the one in New Londo. Yes.
Yeah.
And I've heard a third one down in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Down. Yeah, but I don't know how to get to him because I couldn't hit through the wall, and at the end of the catacombs.
So wild.
I can get through the catacombs really fast now, because I've done it a bunch of times, and there's some sort of daredevil shortcuts, like you can walk off of ledges onto things that are lower down and stuff like that. So if you want to get down there quickly, it's possible. There's also there's a titanite demon down there that's in a confined space, so he's a really tough. I thought I had to fight him to get to the next thing. It's like, oh no, I just missed a turn. Like that happens to me all the time. Like it's really grim and dark down there. So yeah, oh man, this game though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, so I'm trying. It's like as I'm gaining every whatever few levels or 10 levels, I'm like, where if I were them, where would the next sort of logical place for me to go would be? Not necessarily what I've found, because it's like I found places that I don't think I'm supposed to be, etc. But I guess the Valley of the Drakes is connected to, but I just don't trust them that they're that the Valley of the Drakes is like the next the next logical level from Blighttown. I know that probably doesn't make sense. So it's like, well, I don't think I should go there, but
yeah. And I don't know where that goes. Like, is that a valley? Like, is that the end of the road, or is there something on the other side of this valley? Like, I'm constantly having these questions of like, how much further can I go in any given direction? Because I feel like, I know there's a boss, like I said, in New Londo. I have no idea how to get to it, but now, like I said, I'm gonna have to go back through there. Is there something beyond this Valley of the Drakes? Maybe. Those things still work me pretty good, so I don't know if I'm going back there anytime soon. It's been a whole thing. Now where I am, as I was telling you pre-show, is like now I'm in a place that sets off my vertigo, and and there's a lot of walking on narrow things where I'm just like, I get this in the Jedi Star Wars game. Like I get the Fallen Order. I get the same thing whenever I'm on something that's high up. Even if I know in that game, like you actually can't fall off. Like you can drop and hold on, but like you're not. It's not like God of War where you could just fall off the beams because they were narrow and you just fall off of them.
Yeah,
you had to do that weird balance thing. Here it's like, no, you're actually stuck to it. I know that intellectually, but I still feel. Usually audio helps too. I'm in a place where there's a lot of like high wind, kind of like you're in this windy place, and I feel it. Like it feels real to me, and it activates my vertigo, and it's terrifying. So. I want to talk about humanity and what I meant to tell you last week that I figured out. I want to mention it, and then we should talk a little bit about the attacks and the enemy attacks and that kind of matrix. But what I discovered, and I only came across this because of, I think it might have been the getting to the Golem, the Iron Golem again. Can't remember what it was, but there was a point at which I was like, hey, I just got a humanity. Okay, what's going on? Where am I? I'm in a place where I haven't killed the boss. But, it was actually Blighttown because I hadn't killed Quelaag. And there's a lot of critters to get down there. And I killed a whole bunch of things. And then at some point along there, I got a humanity. I don't know how many. I wasn't, keeping track because I hadn't had any theories about it. I had just noticed it like you had. So I have since gone back to Blighttown because I wanted to get to what's beyond Quelaag again. And I didn't get any humanity, but I went through the same number of enemies.
Yeah.
So my theory is that you get the humanity if you're killing the ads or the ones that replenish enough, but the boss is still there.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be.
It's the only thing I could think of from what had happened to me was like, I'm in this area, and it happened in the catacombs for me as well. And then it didn't happen when I went back to Pinwheel, because it was a while before I figured out the shortcut. So I was like killing all the same things again and again and again. And I didn't get any more humanity. So the same thing happened there. I was like, this happened before, and it happened in Blighttown, and then I killed Quelaag, and it didn't happen anymore. And then it's happened here, and then I killed this thing Pinwheel, and now it's not happening here anymore. So
yeah,
I think it's got to be that, because I got one on the way up to the Iron Golem, and I bet if I went and did Sen's Fortress again, it would not happen anymore.
And it's just, do you think a number of
I think it's a number, or
yeah,
maybe how many souls you get from them or something like who knows what how they count it up is, whether it's a number of enemies or like some other metric. But that was the only thing I could really work out. So it's really helpful if you know that, to think about when you approach an area that you could kindle the bonfire, quote unquote, for free
before
without using. Yeah.
Before you take it at boss. Yeah, that's because there is that. Yeah, there's obviously always a bonfire seemingly not too far from a boss like that. So so that would make sense. And ironically, when I got to that bonfire near Quelaag, I did have 2 humanity. Couldn't figure out why, and then and I haven't killed her yet. So, but I also now at the bonfire, so I'm not going through a bunch of souls to get there. So yeah.
So you're only hitting half a dozen whatever on your way there. So that's my theory.
And it's interesting that too that if you were really min-maxing the game, there might be some sort of like magical order of ways to do. I guess some bosses, you have to do bosses in certain orders anyway, but like there might be ones you keep alive because you want humanity. And who knows? Like people come up with crazy routines to play the game if you're really good at it. But man, it's just
I am not really good at it. What I'm really good at is stubbornness.
No, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm not either. It's just.
Well, I mean, my hour to level efficiency is basically 1-to-1, whereas yours is almost 1.5. So you've played 27 hours in low 40s, and I'm level 80 in 77 hours. So it's I'm definitely not much more than 1 for 1 there.
Well, the other thing is like, what do you spend? Like, how do you spend your souls? I think is another variable there, though, right?
Well, I do go and grind specifically. I mean, there are times where I'm just like, I'm just gonna go. I don't know what to do next, so I'm just gonna go over and think about that while I grind this one area for 5 levels.
Yeah.
And I'll just do that, and I don't get tired of it. Which is the next topic and the final topic I think tonight, which is the attack stuff. I had mentioned last time about how the enemies. I don't get tired of fighting the same enemies because things will change up just a little bit each time.
Mm-hmm.
But a part of that I didn't really talk about, and we didn't talk about, was how the attacks work and with those creatures. So I wonder, like the multiple attacks they might have and things like that. I wonder if you have anything to comment on there.
Well, for me, it's like it's the variability of them is interesting. The variety and types that they have, whether it be like the sweeping one or the thrusting down one or this charge or something like that, and so it's all so heavily based on timing and distance and commitment on your side. And I think the thing that I wanted to talk about with my character specifically is, and I'm sure it's the same for all characters, but as a thief sort of roguish character, like I'm still discovering, which I can only imagine none of this is really explicitly in the manual for me, but I'm still discovering moves that I can do based on different button combinations. And so, for instance, if if you hit evade roll without pressing the stick, you'll just do a jump back. At least that's what I do, right? So it's like you just do a quick hop back to kind of like anyone who's thrusting forward, you can time that. If I hit quick attack right after I bounce back, I do a special like little slice with my dagger that is only happens if I do that particular combo. And I just found that not long ago, you know, and then there's just a lot of those where if you do certain things, you know, but they're just button combos, right? But they have enough going on with the heavy and light and then with the blocks and stuff that there's just a lot of depth there that if you really, you know, we always talk about the dance, but it's like if you really get into that routine where you are trying to really watch the tells of each of the creatures, there is sort of like not the ideal attack or response, but there is like a rhythm to what you could or should do to respond to what they're doing. So even though, like you said, they're not completely predictable because you're not sure which one they're going to use, if you see them winding up, you think, okay, I will have a window to do this one if I wait.
Right.
If they do this other thing, then I shouldn't do that one. I should do this other one if I'm patient, you know, and it's like, and it's all about spacing and which ones are going to, you know, and also when you approach something, right, like you could do the thrust or the lunge attack and things like that. And of course, I don't really use shield too much other than, you know, blocking. So it's like, I'm sure shields bring in a whole nother variable, you know, set. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot for the parry. I mean, but my shield also does a fair amount of damage now. So if I bash with it, right, instead of just holding it, so if I do basically a parry style, I'm actually doing damage with just my shield as well,
right?
Which is wild.
That's cool.
I don't do that a ton because I am tending with some of these bigger things now that I'm often fighting, like the golem or that giant or whatever. I'm putting that shield up just so I don't get cleaved. You know, so for me, it has been very practical. Like, okay, the shield is for blocking now, and not a lot of, because I'm not facing a lot of creatures where the parry timing is obvious to me anymore.
No, it's never been obvious to me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a lot. I mean, I spent a lot of time on it. I was like, I think, you know, it's really important to parry. I actually am now thinking, we had an email from somebody who said, Bloodborne's your game, Brett, because that's the one with the parry. I'm like, oh no. I really like the parry. I really enjoyed parrying, but I'm definitely now fighting creatures where if I don't parry, they're going to really wreck me. So I'm a lot more timid about it. Because they're really big. Like, you can tell they're going to do a lot of damage if they hit. It's like fighting that gargoyle. Yeah, if I miss the parry, I'm going to be wide open, you know, and they're going to stab me, right? You know, they'll lunge attack me or, you know, bring something down overhead, and I'm just going to get worked. So I end up not doing that as much anymore. And same thing with that golem. You know, it's just like, no, I can't try to time this guy. Like, I don't have enough in me. If I fail once, I'm probably done. So I have to come back to this. You know, it's like I have to go with a more tried and true strategy to do that. So that's what kind of happens with me. But I do love the idea of, you know, doing more of that. I mean, it's some of that, you know, I mentioned Fallen Order before, and now I'm seeing, you know, now that you're saying that, because I don't actually do a lot of these things. I don't ever jump back. I dive back, but I never sort of step back, and certainly don't then hit the button. But in Fallen Order, they're explicit with what the combos are. It's, in fact, you're buying them with a skill point mechanic, you know, and so they're also gradually introducing these things to you in a more drip kind of way, so that you have enough time to sort of incorporate a new one into your mix. And Dark Souls is kind of doing that too. It's just that there's more discovery to it. Like, you're finding these things out, you know.
Right.
You know, so that's one of the things I think is one of the key differences in how some of these broader approach, a broader audience approaches typically are a lot of the same mechanics, but they're presenting them in a way where you can first slowly learn them, so you don't have to you're not overwhelmed. And then second of all, they are very explicitly telling you exactly what to do and what it does, in a way that we're just kind of figuring out and learning on our own in Dark Souls. Which, it's just two different tastes for sure.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of arcade fighting games in a way, right? Where it's like, at least my memory is, as a youngster playing them, you go there and they don't really tell you the combos, or they didn't.
Right.
Sometimes they would have it on the cabinet itself, but it's like that concept of like, you're just trying some stuff out and experimenting and kind of using some amount of logic of like, if I press this and this, then that could make something happen, and you're just, I don't know. And then there's also sort of word of mouth.
It's also social too, because those were often 2-player games, right? Or even you could just watch somebody in a social space and you could see somebody do something and be like, oh, hey, how'd you do that? Right. And so you had other ways of learning those mechanics, and so you could figure out how to do a Hadouken or whatever. Whereas here, of course, you might also have that from the social of being invaded, or the enemies do some of these things as well. Now that you say, like, people who jump back and attack, I've seen that. So now that you say it, I'm like, oh, of course, they have that move too.
Right.
I just didn't interpret it as a move, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think of it as that sort of. I don't tend to think of the AI as using the same moves necessarily that I am, and some of them don't. Obviously, like the Titanite demon, I'm never going to be able to do what it does. With its big jumps, and maybe if I had a halberd, I could do big sweeping attacks, but I'm not going to play that build, right? I'm not building towards that in any way. I'm happy with my mace, and maybe I'll find an even bigger club or something. But
yeah, it's crazy you haven't actually found another mace though, like a regular mace.
Yeah, I totally just one that's the same. Like, I thought, I was like, well, that would be cool, because then I could maybe make one that's. I don't know where I could make magic weapons. Oh, maybe that second guy.
He's the one that makes magic stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I could go to him then, and he'd be able to level it in that way. If I did that, but I haven't found another mace. Maybe you can buy it from the third smith that I'm aware exists, although I don't know how to get to him. That's a possibility. Like,
wild.
I just don't know. It's just
wild. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, and I wonder what magic does. Like, if you have a magic weapon, is that about damage type, or is that more like if you're a mage, you want a magic weapon because you're a mage?
No idea.
Yeah,
no idea. Literally clueless.
I figured because I'm a rogue, like going for bleeding makes sense, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I was like, well, that probably is what I should do. I figured, yeah,
because you can keep away while they bleed out, right? Because you're so nimble.
Yeah,
right? It sort of makes a lot of sense for you. Hold on to the shield though, because there's definitely things that come up.
No, I
got a shield.
Yeah, no, I still use a shield. I use it for blocking all the time. No, I don't want to say. I meant more the parrying, or like offensively.
Yeah.
But I definitely, and mine is a target shield, so it's this little baby shield, So it doesn't. I don't think it's obviously as effective at all the damage, but it's critical for certain things.
Cool. Yeah. I'm using the Knight Shield. So I should see if I can upgrade that again soon.
The shields are cool. There's a lot of them. Yeah.
There's a lot of variety.
Yeah.
I have a huge variety of weapons. The amount of things I found, but not a mace. It's still, I keep coming back to it. It's so weird.
It feels like it's a very sword heavy game. Like, they definitely like their swords, and it's kind of a bummer if you're not playing a character that uses swords, because
I found this Y-hander, which is this huge two-handed
I saw that too.
God.
And then there's
I don't think I could wield it, but
severed that steals life. I found that one in Blighttown that steals.
Yeah, I think I found that too.
Health when you with every attack. So it's like I kind of wish I would be able to use that, but I'm not going to switch at this point.
Yeah. I don't know if it would require dexterity or what, because I feel like I was able to use that dagger and it was fine, but I feel like there's a lot of weapons I can't. I mean, it's explicitly talks about that. Like, I think this Y-hander, I maybe am strong enough to wield two-handed. Maybe? I sometimes use the mace two-handed. Like, there's definitely enemies where I'm like, well, blocking is not useful against this creature. I'll just go two-handed. I'll just quickly switch to two-handed.
Yeah.
Because even the golem, I was dodging up to him and hitting him. I was like, well, I might as well hit him with two hands. The shield's not going to do anything. He's gigantic, so I might as well just hit him more every time I hit him, and rely on the nimbleness.
I wonder if I should be doing that more. That's a good point.
It's fun to do that for sure.
It just seems
sometimes I forget I've been two-handing though, and I go to block and I'm like, oh, I just have my mace. What's going on?
Well, that's the other thing about it too, that I think that they do want you and are trying to get you to learn and encourage you to do that kind of swapping, mid-battle, right? Where you're taking I do it with the bow right now, right? I'm swapping to my bow mid-battle and then having to swap back to my knife, and kind of those sorts of rhythms. So they've set it up in such a way where I can see that they want you to do some of that stuff. So yeah, it always feels weird to double hand a dagger. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me, but it may, and it probably does more damage. So,
yeah. Be aware of that. Yeah. You basically get your left hand strength added, I think, or something like that. So, yeah. Yep. You get additional offhand strength. Yeah. I mean, I definitely noticed that there's things that I can one shot with a two-handed mace that I cannot one shot with a single-handed mace. So, I have noticed. I mean, it's a good deal stronger. It's like another 100 points for my light attack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
against those stone giant statues in Darkroot Garden, I do like 154 with a one-handed mace, and I do like 246 with a two-handed mace.
I wonder. So if you were in two-handed,
that might be the heavy two-handed mace, though. It might be because those guys stand up so slow. So I might hit them with the heavy. Yeah. So it's probably, I think it's 196 for the light. So it's not a huge difference, not as huge a difference I'm making out. But now that I'm thinking about it, so
if you're in that stance, do your stats tell you what the damage is? You know what I mean? Like when you go to your stats page, but no, probably not.
I don't know.
Probably not because you wouldn't have something in your left hand, so it would probably have to tell you what the equivalent.
You'll probably have to say your right hand is stronger.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
I haven't looked. I haven't thought to look.
Yeah. So. I'll try that just to see. But yeah, I don't know. This game.
It's a lot. This game. This game. All right. Well, let's turn to email. Let's try to go through at least one email quickly. Maybe try to get to two. They are a little bit longer this week, so maybe we will not have time to do two because they are starting to pile up. So I want to kind of get through them. But why don't you go ahead and maybe next time we'll dedicate more time to email.
Yeah, we can do a mailbag. Yeah, catch up
a little bit.
Okay, this one does
go ahead
look
and hit
long.
the first one.
Okay,
maybe we'll just do one.
So a thought from Morrowind about subject is a thought from Morrowind about player character incompetence. Wait, what? From Dagger Danielson. Hello. Hi, Brett and Tim. I knew it was inevitable that you guys would play through Dark Souls eventually. The game is obviously influential since people online talk about Souls-like as a genre in reference to this game and the series as a whole. The recent episodes got me thinking, though. When I played Morrowind for the first time, I was almost instantly killed by the first enemy in the first Fighters Guild quest. After trying 3 times, I realized it was because I was using the dagger from the tutorial and my character had no points in short blades. So I was essentially only hitting air. After an embarrassing trip to buy myself a sword, I actually had the stats to use. I finished the quest and continued the game without too much hassle. I also had a similar situation happen in Deus Ex where I had to eliminate a big, scary enemy that was quite far away. However, I had 0 points in rifles, so I spent a long time trying to sneak to the guy, get into effective pistol range, because it was practically impossible for me to use sniper rifles, which would have made the encounter a lot easier. In the same way, Dark Souls has stats requirements on weapons and weight on armor. Okay, I think I get that. That means certain builds simply won't be able to use some equipment/magic. These moments are highly memorable to me and reflect from what I gathered that my character was bad at some stuff. The fact that the player character was practically incompetent at a skill presented me with a challenge of giving what you can and given what you can and can't do, how will you solve this? And reinforce the kind of character I was creating. In contrast, the newer Deus Ex and Skyrim, while great and enjoyable games, and do not take this as me saying that those games are lesser than their predecessors, lost a little something in that your player character starts out basically competent in pretty much everything, and player specialization choice is what your character is great in. The idea that player character can be bad at some stuff seems to have fallen out of favor at some point, as I can't really think of a recent big name game that does it, and that's probably for a good reason. I can barely believe I'm writing this because I sound like a crazy person, but I kind of miss playing characters that are really bad at some things. Hope this wasn't too rambly. Keep up the good work. Your podcast is consistently great. Thank you for the great work. Best regards, Dagger A. Danielson. Bestu Kavo.
Oh yeah, he sent it.
Yeah.
He sent it in his his native language. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, of course, is naturally games in which you can start from a baseline of good at all the things, is kind of more appealing from a wish fulfillment and power fantasy standpoint, because you don't have as far to go to be able to get good at a particular skill, right? It's just like a competence fantasy in that way. I do think it's interesting that you start with some things you're better at than others in Morrowind, and in Dark Souls, and it is definitely a different style, but it does I feel like cuts you off from a broader audience who are just looking for, I just want to jump in and try all the things, right? I want to jump in and get all the things out of this game I got, and in these, it's like you could do that. It's going to take a lot longer. And there are so many games that the player base has moved more towards like, I got to beat this to get to the rest of the games I want to play. Whereas back in the day, there were not as many games as like, well, I'm going to be playing this for, a while because there aren't a lot of games that, I don't have a 6,000 game Steam log, backlog. I've just got this one that I haven't finished, and I'm going to buy another one 3 months from now that I'm looking forward to, and not a glut, so the market conditions have changed as well. So anyway, a couple thoughts from me on that. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it before, but it is a bit of a conundrum because I think the good thing about what Daniel's saying is that that Dogger is saying is that I don't remember if I'm pronouncing that right, though. I think he told us at one point.
Danielson or something.
No, his first name though, Dagor. I feel like he told us. Anyway,
I can't remember.
Going with Dagor. Anyway, that he's talking about. I mean, there's the good thing about that is always to kind of what he's saying is, at least what I'm taking away from what he's saying is, your choices have real meaning and consequences, and because of those, you're locking certain things out of your experience because you've made choices about that, right? And so, for instance, in Dark Souls with me right now, like shields are not a thing I really care much about. In fact, some of the shields I've found I can't even use because I'm not strong enough. Like they say, you cannot use this effectively, and there's actually an X when I put it in my inventory. So it's like, but it means that the things I've committed to are stronger to me, right, and have more meaning. So there is that sort of specialization side of it, which I do agree with. But I mean, the usability side of it, and I think to some degree why modern mass market games have gotten to where he's talking about is also it's sort of like the pick your poison situation, where if you have a new player come to your franchise and they do happen upon a situation where they've made a choice that disallows them from continuing at the worst, or just not doing this quest at the least because they didn't choose the right type of character, that's a usability problem. Because a lot of players will get to that point and they'll be like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I should be able to do this. Like, and it doesn't, I guess ultimately a lot of players will think to themselves, it doesn't feel fair. And so we've migrated away from that because we don't want players to feel like the game's unfair. But in the process, you do lose out on the consequences of your actions in that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had exactly that experience with Epic Mickey both times I played it. So when it came out, I was so excited for it. I mean, it's, Warren Spector and his team at Junction Point. It was like, oh, your choices are going to really matter. There was a usability problem with the first place that mattered, that it wasn't communicated clearly to me that I was making an important choice.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is that I finally went back and played that, I don't know, a couple of years ago streaming, and I did literally the same thing again. I even knowing, like, wasn't there this thing about this game? I was really annoyed when I played it. I did it again, and I was really ticked about it again. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that it wasn't communicated to me that you're cutting off path, and part of it is just, the communication style of the game and stuff like that. I mean, like, looking at it afterwards, I mean, I had to laugh because I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, how did I go fall for that again?
But it doesn't feel like your fault, right? It feels like the game's fault.
Exactly. It felt like it had not really prepared me for that. Like, it had said that was a thing about the game earlier, but in the moment I didn't connect that to, like, if I, how to back out of this to go do the other thing, because the other thing is the one that I want. Because for me, I was just running around talking to all the people in the town, and one of them was like, oh, hey, you've got this thing. And I didn't understand it was going to consume the thing. If I said, yeah, you can do whatever with it. Like, just the way it was communicated was poor. The other thing too, is that there's also then in a game where you're bad at certain things, there's like a skill to being able to do them anyway. So that's part of the fun of these games, these mastery games, where, of course, like, I'm not taking a mastery approach, but people do, where they run through these games naked and only attack, backwards and in high heels or something. I really appreciate that. That's also a player expression in the games that is not necessarily as present in some of the more mass market games. Or it's just made easier to do. And so it sort of, to some people that will feel less special. To other people, they'll be like amazed by the spectacle and they're totally cool with it. So it's really like what type of player you are. And I think, I mean, I if games were easier when I was younger, like, I would have enjoyed them just as much. Like, I'm not the sort of person who's like, give me those hard, games that I can't, like. I do really appreciate them. I'm very much appreciating this game and I'm loving it. And because of it, I definitely feel like I have higher highs, but I also spend a lot of time grinding, like, because I know that I'm coming up against that. I'm just going to get to walls for myself. I've played one, right? I know what it's like. So I'm just planning ahead. I'm just putting in a bunch of hours to make sure I get up there. So yeah, that's just been my approach. Oh my God, I ran you right up to time. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you for that email. That was, of course, sent to devgameclub@gmail.com. We love also to get your reviews, singing or no. I did have an email recently from somebody who said, please don't sing. But I am at the will of the reviewers.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, it's not his choice.
This is the path I'm on, and
this is the way.
I can't divert from it. You can find us on the web at devgameclub.com or on Twitter at devgameclub. Or you can also find my co-host at
Tim Longo Jr. with a JR at the end.
You are also a Twitcher, as am I. You are at twitch.tv/Tim Longo Jr. with a JR at the end. You are, I hear, going to be playing some Dark Souls.
I am. Yeah, so decided to killed two birds with one stone, but also just I figured people might, obviously I've been playing, so they won't get to see the beginning of it. But
right,
and now I won't. I feel like I won't.
Or
completely,
probably all of it.
Yeah, right. And I won't completely embarrass myself now, so I feel like at least I'm, it might be not silly to watch, but so anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna play, basically do some playing for the podcast, but on stream.
Cool.
So
He gets you a couple extra.
Which I've never done.
So that's good. Yeah. And I meant to get to some of that last week. I've been very busy, so I have not had a lot of time to stream. And I ended up having to I spent some time on a work research game this weekend as well, and I was like, I could have streamed. I was checking something out. Anyway, but I'll be back at twitch.tv/Brett Duville, maybe even this week. Our intro and outro music was written and performed by Kirk Hamilton, commissioned by friend of the cast Aaron Evers, and our logo is by Mark Garcia. Have fun meeting helpful and non-helpful gargoyles this week, and good night.
Oh no. Good night. What does that mean?
Yep. Wouldn't you like to know?